Welcome to the 2023 Dokkan Battle Awards. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan Battle video. In today's video, we are ever so happy to be presenting to you our nominations for this year's Dokkan Battle Awards. Shout out to our good friend of the channel, Mr. Greg Dahl, for putting this together for us and organizing a really interesting awards themed show for Dokkan this year. So we're going to go ahead and run with his idea. We're going to be presenting our nominations for some of the most valuable units to have released this year. Really appreciate you, Greg, for doing this. This is some much needed discourse in the community, and I'm looking forward to hearing what others have to say. So as we go through this list, feel free to fill out the survey with me as we're doing this. I will drop the link to his survey down below, but without further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump on in. So there are 7 awards in total. We will be casting our vote for the first, second, and third place, and at the end of the week the tallies will be calculated and we will be able to announce the winners for all of the categories listed. So just to give you guys a heads up, the award nominations are as follows: the STR Gogeta Award for the most valuable unit overall, the most valuable LR with the AGL Kale and Cauliflower Award, the Tech Ultimate Gohan Award for the most valuable TUR, the most valuable leader skill with the AGL LR Gohan, and the most aesthetically pleasing, the best to look at, the LR 5th Year Fusions Award, the biggest letdown, the God himself presenting the Fizz Raditz Award. So we have quite a few awards. We also have an award for the most valuable EZA, which will be the first one that we tackle. So let's go ahead, let's hop on in. As we go through this, like I said, let me know your choices for each of the awards. I will be setting the criteria here, as Greg mentions, right? The definition of what is valuable is left up to the nominator. So I'm going to define, starting with the most valuable EZA, the Tech God Goku Award. I'm going to define value here as not just making the unit better. When I look at an EZA, I look at, did they take what the unit was doing, expand upon it, possibly do a little bit more, but most importantly, did they help the unit help its team? Meaning a good EZA does all of those things and sort of acts as the cohesive glue that brings the team together. Think how God Goku works, right? When he released, he was the glue that the Gods team needed to function. They were lacking a slot 1 unit, and he became that. You couldn't run the Gods team without running this guy, and that's kind of the way I look at the EZAs here, right? So it's not something like AGL Gogeta, which just took what he was already doing and dialed it up to 11. That's great for an EZA, but to me, doesn't add anything overall value to him, right? So let's start with our third place winner in that regard. I'm pretty confident with my third place choice here, and it is the AGL Giant Ape Turles. Giant Ape Turles is doing what God Goku did for the Gods team for Fizz Turles' team and some other villains team, right? If you include Cooler in this, right? He's doing for him. So he is a great linking partner for the Turles. He allows Turles to build when Turles needs to build. He can take a bit of damage initially, but once he gets going, and he can tank some hits, right? We've seen him tank double digits on occasion, and we've seen him take a super after a couple of supers from Fuse Moss. So like he's really good, but it's more than just being good, right? Because he is a giant ape, he allows for that fluctuation of links in Turles' team, right? Turles is very reliant on his banner units, who don't share a lot of the monster links, the big bad boss's links that Turles needs. Giant Ape Turles provides that for him. So that's why I place him at number 3. My number 2 choice, I kind of had a tough time with number 2, but it was between these guys and the Fizz Vegito, and I am leaning more towards the Fizz Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, right? Everything I said about the Turles applies to Vegito. Add on to that he is supporting the hero's team as well as being super powerful. That the extra damage reduction they gave him allowed him to mitigate some hits in slot 2, while AGL Gogeta holds down the fort, or not Gogeta, AGL Vegito holds down the fort in slot 1 for those first couple of turns, right? It was just, he is the perfect EZA that the Superclass Heroes team needed, and he really pulls the team together. I don't think any other EZA that came out of the Heroes batch, even though there's quite some good ones, hold the team together as well as this guy does, right? He has the perfect Super Saiyan 4 Link set that kind of meshes well with any of the Super Saiyan 4s that would be on his team. So that is why I rate him at number 2. And then my number 1 pick, I feel like this is probably going to be many people's number 1 picks, but again, in terms of value, right, AGL Zamasu does protect Zamasu's team, what God Goku did for the others, right? He glues the team together. He allows you to run Tech Zamasu and keep him up. He allows you to run Int Goku Black, the TUR and the LR, and keep him up. When supported by the proper units, he can be quite powerful given his time to build up, right? Remember, he is a stacking unit, but he also has pre-super damage reduction, which helps him to survive, especially in the newer red zones, right? He is the glue that holds Fuse Zamasu's team together. You can't run Fuse Zamasu's team. Well, you can, but you're going to struggle, right, without this guy. And so that's why I rate him as number 1. He, like all of the others, they are the glue that holds their team together. All right, so that was the first award. That was a bit, so you guys can see this is going to be a bit of a long video. So I hope you guys are buckled in here. Let's move on to the next category. So presenting the AGL Gohan Award for the most valuable leader skill. Again, the definition is up to us, but for me, I will go with his recommendation, right? Valuing the overall scope of the leader, the number of high tier units within it, right? Or just the sheer quality of the team that it creates. I'm going to go with the overall scope, meaning like covering the largest amount of units to run a cohesive team, right? Just because it has a large swath of units doesn't mean it may necessarily be the best leader skill. Think Path to Power Kid Goku, right? He's got a pretty big leader skill, but not all of the unit, a good chunk of the units don't mesh together well on the team. In fact, right, realistically, when you're running him, you're probably more focused on Dragon Ball Saga because of who needs to be run on the team, right, to make him work. So that is kind of what I mean by that. So in terms of overall scope, I mean, it's the 1 and 2 place pretty much have it. It's the 3rd place where we really struggle, right? So honestly, I had a really tough time with this, right? Because, right, if we'll just back up a second, right, to this, right? So we'll just go ahead and throw it out here. The 1 and 2 places are pretty easy. AGL Super Saiyan Goku, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku, and Vegeta, the AGL Vegito. These guys hold the spot at number 1. Like, just look at this leader skill. Look at the amount of characters covered here. Like, it's kind of insane. It is a very large team. It's a very powerful team that works quite well. And this is just those that are on the 200%, right? If you drop out these 30% and look at any one of the 170%, the team gets even larger, right? So add on to that fact that he also has a 130% that allows you, or 150% that allows you to run the likes of like LR Bulma or some dodge or die characters that may help really support the team, right? So I place these guys at number 1, and I place the Tech Zamasu at number 2 for the same exact reason, right? It's a large swath of villain characters with a few other Realm of Gods, super class characters sprinkled in between. It is just, it's a pretty valuable leader skill for villains. It covers just about every villain in the game, right? With Realm of Gods, Worldwide Chaos, and Fused Fighters. So it's pretty good. Where I struggled, though, is in the third place team. I wasn't really sure who to place here, but if I had to pick one, see, it's tough, right? Because it's either Fizz Goku or Tech Goku. I'm going to go with Fizz Goku as the third place pick, simply because, right, Pure and Hybrid Saiyans is pretty darn good. Now, it's tough because his secondary leader skill, Exploding Rage and Power of Wishes, limits him a bit, but just having, even on the 170, just having this ability here, I mean, makes him pretty good. So, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with that. And then, like I said, my number 1 and number 2 are pretty solidly where they're at in terms of valuable leader skills. So, very, very nice there. This one was kind of easy. It's just that third place was really, really tough to decide. So moving on, we have the most aesthetic overall, the Blue Fusions Award. This is very, very subjective one, but it's, who has the best animations, the most, how do I phrase this? The best to look at, right? You load them up, you watch their intro, you listen to their OST, you look at the card art, and everything about it is visually appealing. This is kind of a tough one, but I think if I had to pick one, my third place pick would be Fizz God Goku, right? In terms of releases this year, third place pick would be Fizz God Goku. The OST is perfect. His entrance OST is phenomenal. His animations, his super attack, I'm not fond of his super attack, but it does look very nice. The thing that gets me, though, is his active skill, the I will not let you destroy this world. It's so perfectly delivered. The scene flows so well as a super attack animation. It's really good. And then, honestly, his super attack in his Super Saiyan form looks really, really nice. So I'm going to give him the third place. My second place pick, this was another tough one that I had, because there were a lot of good animations to release this year. And if I think I had to pick one for the second place, it would probably be... where are they? This is rough. This is really hard. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with Int Gohan. Everything about the animations with this card I love, right? It's the reason I'm having a tough choice is because I can't decide on number 1 or number 2 here, but I think I'm gonna go with Int Gohan for number 2. I love the OST, the animations, so in the same way that AGL Goku shows off the Kai opening, Gohan shows off Head Chala so perfectly well. It's nostalgic. I just love it. It doesn't even matter to me that the card is that good. Like it is just visually appealing. The OST, the card art in every form, the SSR, the TUR, the LR, I love every bit of it. It is visually appealing to me, and I think it's really nice. Now, for the number 1 pick, the most visually appealing for me, I think I feel like a lot of people are going to be picking this one, but hands down, it is LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I had a tough time going with the nostalgia factor there on Gohan or with this guy, but I think at the end of the day, this guy's animations are so perfect, right? The line delivery is perfect. The OST is perfect. Each level, well, actually, I don't really like his TUR all that much, but his SSR and his LR look really good in both the standby and pre-standby form. The OST is amazing, and in both JP and global voices are handled quite well with this card. And the animation is like that 10 times Kamehameha. I don't even care that it's not voiced. It's really good. So yeah, I would definitely give it to this guy for best animations. I mean, honorable mention these guys, if only because it shows like, hey, Dokkan really tried something here, and I kind of got to get to these guys. And these guys are also starting to grow on me, but not enough for me to place them above anybody that I had mentioned before. So that is it for the aesthetically pleasing. Let's move on to the next award. We have the most valuable TUR. I know a lot of people were waiting for this award, and this one's a toughie. I think this one, more so than any of the other awards, is going to be a tough one to crack because, again, we are talking most valuable in this nomination. Who are my nominations for the most valuable TUR? I'm going to define value in this situation not simply as this unit performs well, right? I mean, that's a given. If a unit is in the top 10, we know it's good, right? We're not looking at where they are in the list of top 10. We are looking at, as a character, how valuable would it have been for you to have this year, right? What did they do for the teams that they either lead or that they are being added into? Did they bring a newer team together, or did they create an entirely new powerful team altogether, right? It's not just, was this the most powerful TUR? This is, in terms of value, do they provide for you all of these things? So this is a tough one. So because we're not looking at easy A's, we're looking at new summonable units. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and eliminate a bunch. I'm not looking at banner units. I am looking at Dokkan Festival releases. So in terms of most valuable units, number 3 choice, most valuable TUR. This is a tough one, especially because we're including JP units here that only a few of them I have had much experience with. Like, I have them, but I don't have the teams to run them. The droids, the Piccolo and Gohan. So this is a tough one in terms of value. So the thing about Piccolo and Gohan is they are bond of master and disciple, right? Basically. It is a very valuable team. They do bring the team a lot together, what was needed, more so than, yeah, you know what? Third place pick, I'm going to go with these guys in terms of what they're doing in value. Their leader skill encompasses that. They're doing a lot for the bond of master and disciple and Saiyan Saga team. They really bring those teams together. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go third place pick is STR, Piccolo, and Gohan. For my second place pick in terms of value, everything they're doing for the team that they're brought into is probably... this is a tough one. Yeah, there's a lot of good choices here. Yeah, you know what? For second place, valuable TUR, we are going to go with Piccolo Jr. And that is because of what he does for the villains team. The villains are not quite in the best situation this year on Dokkan, and him providing massive attack to those teams that he can be run on, which, I mean, any villain team that can currently be run can run with him on it, even if it's just on the 170. So yeah, to add to that, him providing a giant form, which gives you a free action cancel and active skill that can hit multiple enemies. I'm going to go second place for most valuable TUR is probably Piccolo Jr. Simply because of all of those things that he is doing. The hyper offense, the great post-super defense, right? He's one of the few characters that can crack 2 million defense if he gets everything right going for him. You know what I mean? So definitely, he deserves that spot. Now, because, and I think this is simply, I think it's his leader skill that pushes him over for me, but probably the most valuable unit to have released this year is probably the Super Saiyan God Goku. His leader skill is all encompassing, basically, for any hero unit you would want to run, more or less. He has dodge, he has guard, he has multiple supers, he has effective against all types, right? He does everything. He has a huge chance to dodge once he launches his active skill, which is basically a finisher, and it almost guarantees that you finish the fight with him. So yeah, I would definitely have to give it to Fizz God Goku. Tech Goku is a close second here, if only because, you know, he's doing a lot of the same things. I think the only reason I'm not placing him above God Goku is because Tech Goku needs others to do what he's doing, and while he does do it well, right, I think it's God Goku's leader skill that pushes him over the edge for me there. And I mean, you guys remember our tier list. Piccolo Jr. was #1 on the tier list as like the best TUR. But in terms of value, right, if you walked out of this year without Piccolo Jr., you're not missing much. You're not missing as much as you are if you walked out of here without Fizz God Goku. So that's kind of why I placed that way. So moving on to the next category, we have up the LR Kalen Cauliflower Award for the most valuable TUR. Or I'm sorry, not TUR, LR. Now for this one, same rules apply, right? We're not looking at easy A's, and we're looking at overall what are they providing for the team, in terms of leader skill, in terms of power, in terms of utility, right? If you walked out of 2023 without this unit, you have more or less lost the game. That's the way I see it, right? You are struggling to run a super class team if you walked out without this one. So first and foremost, most valuable. This is a tough one because me being a Trunks guy, I want to say, dude, you should have Fizz Trunks, but no, honestly, none of the WWC LRs, I think, scratch this for me. Any of the top 3 slots, as good as all of these guys are, right? Again, we're not looking at was the character good, right? It's the value that they provide. And I think for third place in this case, I'm going to put LR Bulma. I know that sounds crazy, but realistically, you can get by without her, right? It's just that as value, right, we're basically at a point, right, when we do showcases, right, when you run teams, you have the team without Bulma, and then you have the team with Bulma, and it's like a night and day difference in some cases. So in that regard, I feel like she deserves the spot at #3, but at the same time, I don't want to place her higher because, I mean, you can kind of get by without her. As much as she is helping the team, that 2-turn support is insane. The damage reduction is so helpful, as well as the orb changing. But teams can get by without her, and that's why I'm not going to place her higher than that. The #2 spot, I think, goes to the GT Duo, right? Having a character that can run and just build attack, and then launch a revival counterattack when ready, right? If you fall below 50% and you launch their standby, you now have a guaranteed revive that's going to hit back for a minimum of 10 million damage, right? Like, a free 10 million damage is nothing to scoff at. To add on to that, the 80% support it's giving to the turn, I think, makes them very, very valuable. Add into that, they have a pretty darn good leader skill, all things considered. I would definitely place them as the runner-up for the most valuable LR. And to no one's surprise, our #1 pick for the nomination for the most valuable LR is none other than Orange Piccolo himself, the giant orange monster. Like, I don't know what else to be said about this guy that hasn't already been said, but, you know, damage reduction, granting ki to allies, it's huge, right? a great leader skill. Battle of Wits is slowly becoming a very powerful category. Superhero was already a great category, right? He's great, right? Add on to that the fact that he has a really great EZA partner, or a banner unit partner, or Fizz Ultimate Gohan partner, right? Like, the sky's the limit for this guy in terms of who he can be run next to and perform well. Heck, even Bulma works great next to him, right? Like, it's just, I mean, he does so many things so well. Add on to that, on a superhero team, the turn 3 giant form, basically ending all super attacks and AoE attacks directed toward him. Turn 6 if you're on a non-superhero team, but nonetheless, still a very important skill, right? In a meta where AoEs are heavy-handed by the devs and the enemies they are producing for us, having a character that can get rid of that is oh so valuable. And while I didn't rate Piccolo Jr. higher, even though he did have the same mechanic, it's because Piccolo Jr. isn't at will, whereas Tech Piccolo's here is. And that's why I place him at the highest level for the LR award. So those are my nominations for the most valuable LR for this year. Moving on, the Fun Award. I know one that everybody has been looking for. The biggest disappointment of the year. This is hard because, right, Greg mentions here, right, this could be personal experiences not being met. This could be just something that I feel is the worst release or the most forgettable, or... right, maybe they didn't perform quite as well. I'm going to actually put all of those considerations in this one, right? This is going to be, 1, they did not meet my expectations. 2, they're just a bad release. And not a bad release in that the unit is bad, but a bad release in that they don't have what they need to function well. As well. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at our third place. Now, this one is tough because I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm not including banner units, and there is no LR on this list, right? There's not a single LR that I can look at that's been released this year and I can just be like, wow, this card sucked, you know, or this was a disappointment, or they didn't have. Basically, every LR that's released this year has had a place. So I'm not going to consider LRs in that. So we're looking at the TURs. And I had a tough time between the bottom two, the 2 and 3 slot, but I think I'm going to go ahead and give number 3 to AGL Kale. And that is because, not that she is bad. Again, no unit that I'm going to list here is bad. It's they didn't get the help that they needed and therefore don't function is what it is for me. And AGL Kale is that for me. She's good. But all she got to help her was LR, Kale, and Khalifa, who are great, but it's not what she needed, right? She would get help later on through the EZAs of, like, Botomageta and Frost, but again, still not what she needed. She leads a team that needs Universe 6 or characters with Caulifla in the name, and they just don't exist, right? The LR EZA is it, and so she can't really function as well as she should, and I think that's what makes her a disappointing release for me, because she didn't get what she needed in order to function beyond what she can now. My second place pick is probably the STR 17 and 17, and the reason I put them above Kale is, I mean, they have all the same problems, right? But their bigger problem is that they don't have an enemy to fight. They need to be against a superclass enemy. And while there's a couple of that against the Divine Will stages and a few of these newer challenge events that are being released, it's still not enough. They're not hard enough to really push these guys to the test, but they did get a lot more help than Kale got, right? They got Android 21, who helps them a lot. Add on to that the Fizz Androids EZA, They actually got a lot of what they needed to function. They just don't have the enemy to function against, and that's kind of why I rate them at number 2. Now, for my number 1 pick of the most disappointing release this year, this was a hard one. And like I said, no banner units and no... not even heroes units I'm going to include on this, right? No banners units, no LRs, right? Like I said, there's no LR that really fits that criteria for me. I think the most disappointing unit released this year for me, it's not even a question. It's AGL Omega Shenron. And I think for most people this is going to be true. I almost wanted to put Super Boo, but he's growing on me on the 21 team, right? I think he really works there. So AGL Omega Shenron is probably it for me. He got nothing. He got absolutely nothing. He didn't even get easy A's to help him. LR Baby kind of helps him, but not enough. It's just... GT, he leads a team. He should have led Inhuman Deeds. Instead, he led GT Bosses. A team itself is just not good enough. It doesn't have enough good releases. It doesn't have enough characters for an easy A. Most of the Shadow Dragons are subpar at best, right? The Tech, Nova, and Ice are okay. Really, the best unit on the team next to this guy is the Texan, and he's already showing signs of age, being that he released during the 7th anniversary. So I mean it's Omega Shenron. Disappointing. He was a bad choice. This should have been a new LR Baby, or at the very least he should have led Inhuman Deeds, which would have opened up his leader skill even more. I don't know, the fact that he's limited to being with GT bosses, there were so many ways in which this character went wrong, unfortunately. So that's why he goes at number 1 for me. And then finally, the piece de resistance, the STR Gogeta Award, the most valuable overall, the number 1 character who, if you walked away from any unit this year, this had to be the unit you walked out of 2023 with, right? And I mean, the answer is pretty obvious, right? Who we should have. Number 3, rather. So the number 3 most valuable unit, I think, is Future Gohan. Okay, he's not the best unit ever, and while he didn't make my top 3 LRs, he does make the valuable unit because of his domain. Okay, in terms of number 2 for the most valuable unit overall, probably, where is he? God Goku, right? He just, so good. He, like we said, dodge, guard, leader skill. He's got everything you need in a character. If you walked away from 2023 with a unit, it should have definitely been this guy. And then finally, at the very, very top, I think this is probably everyone in agreement here. LR Piccolo. He's just that good. I mean, everything that we said with the LRs applies here. You needed to walk away with this guy this year. There's not a single piece of content released that he can't handle, and if you've got him, you definitely are running him to beat these contents, right? It's just, he's so necessary on so many teams, and I do think he fits the criteria of Gogeta, right? If you think STR Gogeta, the reason this award is chosen as the name is Gogeta was the meta when he released. Anything, you had him or you didn't play the game, right? Basically, Gogeta was a must own, and I think no other unit embodies that right now than LR Piccolo, in my opinion. He's just that valuable compared to everything else on this list. I don't think there's anyone who even comes close to the value he is bringing. So I believe that is it for all of the categories, guys. I know this was a bit of a long video, but I wanted to make sure I got my explanations in there. this was fun. I had a lot of fun going through these awards and bringing my choices to you guys and presenting these nominations. These are just my opinions for the nominations, and here soon, at the end of the week, we will see the total tally for the top 3 in each of the categories voted by you, the members of the community. Whether you're one of my viewers who is doing this right now or somebody who's seen this already and voted from Greg's video or when he posted to Twitter or Discord, whatever the case may be. In just about a week, we will have our awards, and hopefully I'll be able to present one of the categories. I'm looking forward to this, but we just got to make sure we can work out the time because this was really fun. I enjoyed it, and I hope to hear your guys' choices for the categories in the comments down below. Let me know what you chose. I'm kind of curious. Who is your most valuable in each of the categories? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, that's it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go check out Greg Daw and his channel. Give him a like and a subscribe. And if nothing else, thanks for watching, and aloha.